In today's video, we're going to analyze Cardano and see how high its price could go after the alt season we're experiencing in 2025. Pay attention because, as you already know, Cardano is one of the top 10 coins. Let's really see if it could actually surpass the $5 mark. We're still a bit far from that, but let's start analyzing right now directly by looking at the chart against the dollar. As you already know, this is technical analysis, not fundamental, so we won't be getting into that side of things. What we can do, though, is take a look at the chart and really see if, by market cap, it could reach key levels. The first thing we're going to talk about, as I said, is the weekly chart. There are a lot of coins, like Ripple, for example, that are at all-time highs. Ether is at all-time highs, Bitcoin is clearly at all-time highs, and so is Solana. We have a little problem here with Cardano. I know Cardano is one of those coins that usually takes a while to go up, but even so, it's important to keep in mind that we're still below the Fibonacci golden pocket from the entire bear market we've had. That means, in this case, right now, Ether is, for example, as if Cardano were at $3 or Solana also in the $3 range, but even so, we're still at 87 cents. Sway way too low. It hasn't recovered since the previous cycle. And what that tells us is, it gives us a bit of a bad sign that yes, okay, fine, the alt season could come, as it will, and it could make Cardano go up just like absolutely everything else will go up. Most coins are going to go up. The question is, will Cardano manage to surpass its all-time high of $3 and go even further? Well, let's take a closer look at that. The key thing to keep in mind here is that clearly on the weekly chart, we're in a good spot in terms of we've broken above the 200 moving average. The MACD has crossed upwards. It looks like it's going to keep rising. But the first major resistance that Cardano is going to face is this area right here around the $1 20 zone. The $1 20 zone is going to be a tough resistance. It was already a tough resistance in this area right here. It was, we're talking about 2022. It was in 2022. It was in 2024. And it will be in 2025. Do I think Cardano can break through the $1 20 zone? Well, most likely yes, especially in the final stages of the bull run. But breaking through $1 20 is one thing, and going to $3 or $5 is another. Honestly, maybe at the beginning of the year or at the end of last year, I did think that since we were here and about to break through, I believe Cardano would perform better, but honestly, it has shown a lot of weakness in recent months. So, here's the first take I'm going to throw out there. I don't think Cardano will surpass its all-time high. I think this year Cardano is going to be one of the disappointing coins, which is really, really weak. Yes, it will have some rallies that could easily reach the $1 7.6 area, and it could easily get to the $2 50 area. This whole area here, we're talking about a 120% to 180% increase, which is nothing to sneeze at, but that doesn't mean it'll break all-time highs or go to the moon. Cardano has already shown, as I said, some weakness, and we don't really like that. Also, let's take a look at this, right? For example, as we've already said, Cardano is currently the number 10 coin in the global rankings. What would happen, for instance, if Cardano were to get the amount of money that's currently in the Ethereum market? Well, in that case, Cardano would reach $15. Okay, but I repeat, to reach $15, it would need to get a huge amount of money. I mean, basically 17 times more money than what Cardano currently has right now. Maybe it's more profitable or more interesting to set targets like, for example, reaching the market cap that Ripple has right now. In that case, it would give us basically $5.3 or even a bit lower if we look at BNB. This makes a lot more sense to me that it could, for example, go up to 3.23. But in any case, I don't think it's going to $10 or $15. I don't even think it's going to reach 5. And basically, it's not just because of the chart against the dollar, but let's move on to the second part of the analysis, which is actually the most important, and that's that we're going to analyze, in this case, Cardano versus Bitcoin. Take a look at how the Cardano versus Bitcoin chart looks on the weekly time frame. Okay, I want us to see this very clearly. Here we can see something really important. And that's that, in this case, since September 2021, Cardano versus Bitcoin has done nothing but plummet. Yes, it has had some significant rebounds, clearly, but every time it's had a major rebound, it's only been to fall again. And in fact, not only that, but Cardano, if you look, we had a support line that we've been touching since 2017, which we touched in 2020, again in 2021, again in 2023, and we finally broke through it in 2024. Here we did the retest of the same support, which turned into resistance, and we've gone back down again. What this chart is telling us is that Cardano against Bitcoin is bearish. It's clearly bearish. And what this basically means is that everyday Cardano is worth less compared to Bitcoin. This means that if Bitcoin goes up, most likely Cardano will end up going up even less. Careful, this doesn't mean there won't be any rebounds, and in fact we've had a few weeks of a rebound in Cardano against Bitcoin, but for this chart to turn bullish, Cardano against Bitcoin would have to break above the 1,624 Satoshis area. It's at 720, so it's still very far from turning bullish. I'll say it again, there could be some small rises. So in the coming months, Cardano might actually be a better investment than Bitcoin. But in the long run, what this is telling you is no. You've been dropping since 2021, and really any rebound you've had lately is just to keep falling. So yes, I do think Cardano is going to have some significant rebounds, especially after this double bottom. It's going to have some important rebounds. It might get close to that all-time high. But what we saw last year about the possibility of Cardano even reaching $10, I see that as more and more unlikely, and honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. Because of this, it's likely to be one of the disappointments of this year, and something similar to what happened with Ripple or with some other coins like IOTA, for example, could happen, where from 2017 all the way to 2024, we basically didn't break all-time highs. Something similar could happen with Cardano this year. The fact that Cardano might not surpass its all-time high this year, the bear market could start and it could drop again, and maybe for the next cycle, in another 4 years, we might finally break the high. But in any case, as I said, we would have to wait quite a while for that. And honestly, I don't think this cycle is going to be a great one for Cardano. And like I said, it's not that I'm a hater of the coin or that I want to see it fall. In fact, like I said, I repeat, I think it could very well go up to 1.76. It's going to have gains just like all the other coins. It could even go up, as I said, to the 247 area, which would basically be the area of highs before the all-time high. This area right here, major resistance levels, but that $3 zone is going to be tough, especially with the chart against Bitcoin looking the way it does right now. So, Will, is it worth investing in Cardano? Honestly, I think there are better opportunities this cycle. For example, Ethereum is showing a lot more strength, so is Solana, and so is Ripple. There are other coins that are performing much better, that are showing much more strength, and Cardano, in this case, is falling behind. Could Cardano recover in the coming months? Yes, but it has a long way to go. It has a lot to overcome. It needs to. Just so you get an idea, Cardano still needs to go up basically 250% just to surpass its all-time highs from 2021. I repeat, 250%. That's pretty much how much it still has left to climb. I even think it might be less than that, judging by the chart against Bitcoin. So, Cardano holders, be a little careful. You'll have to keep an eye on things. You'll have to make a decision, right? Whether to sell at a loss or to hold onto the coin for 4 or 6 years until it starts to go up. In any case, sometimes, okay? I'm not recommending anything, but sometimes it's worth it to just accept the loss, admit you made a mistake, and simply put your money into another project that looks better, that has more potential, and that can basically give you back the profits that Cardano made you lose in this case. So, well, this is a bit of the information we have about Cardano and what I think is going to happen during the rest of the cycle. Indeed, it's going to go up. It's very likely to surpass the 1.6, 1.2 zone. We're very likely going to reach 1.76, and from there, between 1.76 and 2.47, that's the zone where I think it's perfectly possible for us to hit the market top during the cycle, because remember, we don't have that much time left either. For me, we have 3 or 4 months left at most, and after that, tough times and bear markets are coming and so on. You always have to keep in mind that just as the bull market eventually arrives, so does the bear market, and it's important not to get stuck. So that's it. I'll leave the video here. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow. See you soon, everyone.